Good morning and welcome to this Experience UK webinar, Opportunities in Museums, Theme Parks and Leisure Destinations for UK Companies in Hong Kong. My name is Emily Smith and I'm on the advisory board for Experience UK and I'll be chairing today's session. And I'm really delighted to welcome a really fantastic panel of speakers to today's session. We have Hailey Chan, who is head of the Experience Economy in the Department for Business and Trade. We have Daisy Ip, Head for Investment Promotion in Invest Hong Kong. We have James Dwyer, Creative Director from Lumsden Design. Sam Bompas, Co-founder from Bompas and Parr. Natalie Wong, Account Director from Bompas and Parr, focused in the work in Hong Kong, and Anthony Rowe, artist and founder of Squid Soup. And in the background, we have my colleague Kieran, who's going to be helping us run these presentations. So welcome everybody. So today's webinar is really about providing an in-depth overview of the Hong Kong market, practical tips from UK companies who've successfully worked in Hong Kong, and general advice on trade opportunities, marketing intelligence and how best to work. So we're going to be doing a number of short presentations, each speaker, and I would ask all the audience out there to think and hold your questions for later on. We'll have a time at the end where we can ask the panelists questions. So you can either write those in the chat as we go along, or you can hold them in your head and ask at the end. So without further ado, I think we'll move straight into the substance of the morning, and I would like to invite Hailey Chan, Head of the Experience Economy at the Department for Business and Trade in Hong Kong, to give us an overview. Welcome, and Kieran, please could you bring up Hailey's presentation? Thank you so much.
Okay, hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. I'm Hailey from Hong Kong. We are based in the British Consulate General in Hong Kong, but we are representing the UK government's Department for Business and Trade. I look after the creative sector, so we help the British business to export to Hong Kong and Macau as well, no matter through just export or even like setting up a physical presence in Hong Kong. So today I would just give you a very quick overview on the creative landscapes in Hong Kong and where the opportunities lie. So some very quick statistic about Hong Kong. Hong Kong has been acting as a gateway to mainland China or even the entire APEC region for decades because of its strategic location within 4 hours flight from most of the key financial markets within Asia. The official language here are Chinese and English. While you have to be aware of like the localization of your project, especially if it involves like a display of tests, but the business language in Hong Kong is mainly English. Most of the business trade conversation in Hong Kong are conducted in English. So I would say language barrier won't be a big problem when it comes to doing business in Hong Kong. And which is also one of the reasons why it attracts so many UK business to do business here. The creative sector has been one of the most important economic driver in Hong Kong economies. In 2022, which was during the pandemic, it was still count for about like 2.3% in Hong Kong's GDP. So the Hong Kong government has been introducing quite a lot of policies to support the creative sector and to kind of reinforce its image as the art and cultural hub of Asia, and also the perspective of kind of East meet West. So for example, there is the new CCIDA, which is the main funding body of the Hong Kong government to approve fundings for creative events. But among all those initiatives, I particularly want to highlight the government's focus on mega events. So the Hong Kong government has actually set up a mega art and cultural event funds back in 2023 to support all the international major art and cultural events taking place in Hong Kong, which each project has a maximum of like 1.5 million pounds of financial support. In the past, we have seen examples like exhibition from the National Gallery London taking place in Hong Kong with the support from this funding. And also another recent example is the world-renowned designer Anya Haimash Chubby Heart project. So it provides, while the funding will be given by local partners instead of like the international organization, but it provides a huge incentives to the local cultural organization in Hong Kong to invite and attract international events into the city. And today I want to highlight a few key subsectors that we have been prioritizing, and also we see a huge potential in Hong Kong. And one of them is museums and cultural services, which also include art and culture and performing arts. There are two major players in Hong Kong. One of them is the Leisure and Cultural Services Department of the Hong Kong. It is one of the governmental department in Hong Kong. And another one is the West Kowloon Cultural District, which is a self-financing body, which also receive funding from Hong Kong. So because LCSD is part of the Hong Kong government, so I would say their museum is a little bit more local audience orientated. They manage 15 public museums and 2 other art spaces in Hong Kong. The major ones including like the Hong Kong Museum of Art, the Hong Kong Museum of History, Hong Kong Science Museum, and also the newly established East Kowloon Cultural Center, which is designed to be the art tech hub of Hong Kong. So LCSD is having a lot of projects going on in addition to the museums that they are already managing. For example, there are at least 4 museums which are either in the progress of development or yet to be launched. So there are also 2 projects from LCSD that they might plan to do in the future, including like a construction of a pop culture center and a new branch of Hong Kong Museum of Art. And another key partners when it comes to the museum and cultural services sector is the West Kowloon Cultural District. It is the largest cultural initiative of its kind in the world. And I would say compared to the museums managed by the government, the museums and art space managed by WKCD is a bit more international audience facing and international orientated. So it is a self-financed cultural institution with funding from the government, and it hosts a group of world-class museums and performing arts venues, including the Visual Arts Museum M+, the Hong Kong Palace Museum, and a few others performing art venues. So this is kind of the latest developments of the cultural district. So apart from the buildings that have already been complete and open, there are actually still some facilities that is still under development and is set to be opened in the next 5 to 10 years, including multiple venues for performing arts sector, like artist residential building and more performing arts venues that is designed for different kind of performance, from black balls or a theater that can accommodate hundreds of people to a larger theater that is tailor-made for more than thousands audience. And in addition to LCSD and West Kowloon Cultural District, there are also some other cultural partners in Hong Kong that we have been working very closely with. Some of them are non-profit, some of them are associate with some property developers, associate with the private sector, and also the exhibition space within the higher education institutes, including the Hong Kong University or Hong Kong Design Institute, are also have also shown quite a keen interest in bringing in exhibition or other cultural experience from the UK. I would say in this sector, we have seen opportunities in different offers, from obviously touring exhibition and the licensing for museums, to the visitor experience, to the new technology that help kind of elevate the visitor experience, the performing arts or large-scale festivals, or even through the consulting services to the museums or all these performing arts venues. And another sector I would like to highlight is the design sector, which Hong Kong has, the mainland China has been like the biggest export market for Hong Kong design companies, and which is also the kind of the reason why Hong Kong has become such a regional design hub with strong talent pool, a good mixture of multinational talents, combining Western and Asian influence. Hong Kong is the city hosts one of the flagship design events in the APAC region, which is called the Business of Design Week, which in fact the UK was a partner country back in 2019, and during that occasion, we brought one of the largest trade delegation our departments have ever delivered for the experience sector during that year to Hong Kong, and which was a really great opportunities, and it helped so many business to secure business in Hong Kong in the last 5 years. And I'm not sure if you have ever been to Hong Kong, but if you have, you probably notice that Hong Kong, one thing Hong Kong very different from the UK is that Hong Kong has a lot of shopping malls. In fact, Hong Kong has over like 100 shopping malls ranging from various styles and size. Some of them are more luxury and some of them are more family orientated and family friendly. So these shopping malls or the property developers behind them, like after the pandemic, they have been finding new way to draw the footfall back and have been investing quite a lot in elevating the visitor experience. So we see a lot of opportunities for experience providers. They can provide themed installation.
2 minutes, Hailey.
Got it. And or helping the luxury brands to do small showcase in the shopping mall. So in addition to Hong Kong, our team also covered Macau as well, which is a city nicknamed as the Las Vegas of Asia. It is just 1 hour ferry away from Hong Kong, very close. While the population in Macau isn't that large, but it kind of is tourism hub for the entire, like the Greater China region. And in Macau, there are 6 key players, which are the casino operators. 3 of them are originate from Macau, and 3 of them, as you can see, are from Las Vegas. I guess one latest developments that we really wish to highlight is that as the Macau government is trying to diversify its economy from the gaming sector, when the 6th casino operator renewed their license in 2023, as part of the contract, they are obligated to invest a total of 11 billions over the next decade to develop non-gaming projects that covers food and beverage experience, performance, entertainment, MICE, attraction and experience. So we see these developments really provide a huge incentive for the casino operators to bring in new experience and for their visitor. As you can see, like in the policies of the different policy of the Macau governments highlight their emphasis on tourism, on convention and exhibition, on sport. So the city is trying to reinforce its image as the cultural and tourism hub for the APAC region. So that's why you can see the key initiative here. They are trying to drive the tourism by subsidizing flight and accommodation to attract tourists to the city, and also investing a lot in bringing international projects to the city. At the same time, it is also quite keen to promote the development of the city into a city of performing arts and city of sport. So if you have any questions, like, feel free to contact myself or my colleague Stephen. We are based in Hong Kong, and we'll be happy to advise about your plan in Hong Kong and Macau.
Thank you so much, Hailey. What a very rich and great presentation. And thank you for all the insights into the great kind of funding opportunities and the support available. That's really helpful. Thank you. Now, a beautiful segue into another really helpful kind of avenue for support. I'd like to now hand over to Daisy Ip from Invest Hong Kong, who's going to take through the opportunities in Hong Kong and how Invest Hong Kong can help with those. So Daisy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily, and good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I am Daisy Ip, the head of investment promotion of Invest Hong Kong, London. So some of you might have already heard who we are, but Invest Hong Kong, just want to give you a brief idea. Invest Hong Kong is a government department helping international company to expand in Hong Kong and also beyond. So I'm based in London, and I would like to share some of the background or overview of what's happening in Hong Kong and also what are the opportunities. But Hailey has done a very, very detailed overview, so I might skip some slides if there's any overlapping. However, I just want to, maybe some of the audience here today have already been to Hong Kong many times or have worked or maybe do business in Hong Kong, but I appreciate that some of you might be still in a fairly new market. So please allow me to remind our audience today some basic information or fundamentals of what Hong Kong and why Hong Kong. So Hong Kong has lots of leading international ranking, which I would like to highlight some of them. For example, like Hong Kong is the #3 most preferred seat of arbitration, and you may want to ask why, because doing business is not always plain sailing, right? There's always some ups and downs and also some challenges, and where there's a dispute, Hong Kong plays a very, very important role and also have a lot of professionals and very, very well established infrastructures in terms of arbitrations. So it's the #3 most preferred seat of arbitrations, according to a survey in the UK. And of course, Hong Kong is also a #3 ranking on the global financial center. We have a very safe and also very well established financial structures. So in terms of why, how many companies are in Hong Kong, actually, you might be very surprised to hear that a lot of the international companies have take advantage of Hong Kong's advantages and also leverage Hong Kong's strength. So according to our surveys, there are over 9,900 companies with parents company that's outside Hong Kong is now based in Hong Kong. The major places of origins, we have China, Japan, and UKs are always top 3, or this year maybe the top 3 or the top 4. But UK is always one of the major companies that major countries that have presence in Hong Kong. And these are some basic informations about why Hong Kong, and let me just elaborate one by one very, very quickly. So Hong Kong has maintained our own currency and political and legal system. So even though we are one country with China, but we have a separate system that allow business to, the ease of doing business in Hong Kong is very, very, very simple. And the other good thing is that we have a very simple and low tax system. We have no VAT tax, we have no sales tax, no wine duty, no capital gain tax, etc., etc. And our tax is capped at 8.25% for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollars profits, which is around 200,000 pounds. and that is capped at 16.5% above any profit above the 2 million Hong Kong dollar cap. So another thing is why Hong Kong is a gateway to China and also to the world, which I will elaborate a little bit more in my next slides or so. So first of all, Hong Kong has a very close relationships in terms of the policy and also trade relationship with China. But not just only that, we have also free trade agreement with 20 economies and 24 investment agreements with 33 economies. So if you're already thinking of not just China, maybe you're thinking of ASEAN countries, think about Hong Kong, because when you're landing in Hong Kong, when you're using Hong Kong as a gateway, you could get to ASEAN countries, China, even to UAE, Dubai, etc., etc. So there are lots of facilitation in terms of how we are working with all these emerging economies. And Hong Kong as a financial center. So this slide, I wouldn't dwell into this, but I just want to mention maybe some information that might be useful or relevant to you, is that Hong Kong is Asia's number one city in terms of ultra-high net worth individuals. We have over 12,000 ultra-high net worth individuals, and based on our recent research with Deloitte, Hong Kong now have over 2,700 single-family offices. What does it mean when there's such a big group of single-family office and ultra-high net worth individuals? It means there's a potential for investors, connections, and also the lots of startups are tapping into these new economies in Hong Kong to thrive. And also Hong Kong, because of that, Hong Kong has also the largest hedge funds and also the biggest private equity market outside of mainland China in Asia. And we have, as I mentioned, we have a very, very well-established financial structures. 72 out of the world's top 100 banks are operating in Hong Kong. So why? So we have these fundamentals, like why we choose Hong Kong as a base, but also Hong Kong has become an innovative hub. For example, now Hong Kong is APEC's #3 world digital competitiveness, according to the last survey. So we have lots of government-backed policy to push Hong Kong as an innovative hub. But I want to highlight that we have a very vibrant startup community, and also have a very good access to capital and fundraising, which I mentioned in the previous slide about like the investors networks in Hong Kong. So in terms of the startup community, I will also mention in the next, to elaborate a little bit more in the next slide. So based on our recent survey, we now have a record number of startups in Hong Kong. We have over 4,694 startup based in Hong Kong, which is up 40% compared to 2020. So we see a lot of fintech, e-commerce, ad tech, but also marketing technology and advertising technology. These are all up and coming which we want to have more push in the near future because of all these developments and policy that we have, that Hailey just mentioned, which I will also elaborate a little bit more. And last but not least, about the Hong Kong's advantage. This is not just all the hardware, but we also have a very, very good vibrant lifestyle, which I'm sure if some of you visit Hong Kong or live in Hong Kong, which will agree, we have very vibrant cities, food, everything, travel. But we now also have a world-class event of sports, arts, and culture because of the new opening of the Kaida Sports Park. And this also opened up to lots of business opportunities, which I will also further elaborate in the second part of my presentation. So very quickly, Hong Kong is a super connector to both China, ASEAN, also to the rest of the world, especially with China. Let me just narrow it down to the Greater Bay Area, if anyone have already heard of it or haven't heard of it. Greater Bay Area is Hong Kong, Macau, and 9 other cities in the southeast part of China. It is 11 cities altogether, including Hong Kong and Macau, and have a population of 86 million populations, with a GDP that
2 minutes now, Daisy.
Okay, thank you. $2 trillion. And over 20% of the ultra-high net worth individuals are based in Greater Bay Area. So this is a very, very fast-growing area, which is Hong Kong is part of it. And we have a very, very strong network with the Greater Bay Area, not just in terms of the policy, but also the transport, logistics, etc., etc. So we could talk about the Greater Bay Area maybe next day or so, but there are lots of opportunities. And how Hong Kong could take advantages with this is something called a CEPA. So it's called a Close Economic Partnership Agreement, which I want to highlight because there have been some new development of this CEPA agreement that is between Hong Kong and China that I think is very essential and important note for the audience here today. Hong Kong will offer preferential access to mainland market in service sectors, including constructions, engineering, but also film and televisions. So that is also boosting the creative sectors in Hong Kong. So let me just quickly go through the trends and what is happening. And so Invest Hong Kong have helped over 100 cultural creative industries companies that are expanding in Hong Kong or operation in our cities. So there are more active sectors that are, for example, like what Hailey mentioned, art and culture, digital marketing, architecture, design, media and entertainment, but also gaming, creative technologies and multimedia, and immersive experience and AI. This is what we see the trend is happening. In terms of the ecosystem, let me just quickly go through that. Hong Kong ranks the third largest art auction market globally because of all these developments. And the cultural and creative industries are among the most dynamic economic sectors in Hong Kong. It contributes to about 4.5% of the GDP. So there's a lot of things happening. And the government also pushed the mega events economy, which is having a very positive impact on the creative industries. So last year alone, Hong Kong Play hosted around 200 mega events, with nearly 100 being held already in the first 6 months. So if anyone wants to know more about what is happening in this ecosystem, please feel free to ask me or after the webinar. And in terms of the policy support, Hailey have already mentioned it in a very, very detailed elaboration, so I wouldn't go into this. But I just want to mention that all this policy is contributing to a very vibrant and cosmopolitan creative community in Hong Kong. So let me just, before we finish this presentation, I want to highlight about the opening of the Kite and Sports Park, because that will open to a lot of business opportunities in these sectors. I think the Kite and Sports Park will be opening in a few weeks' time in March. Already, we are going to have Coldplay and also Rugby Sevens, all these big events happening in Hong Kong. This is the ideal venue for not just sports events, but also for music, entertainment, and corporate events. And we see that this will push a lot of demand and also drive the whole ecosystem in the experiential technology, etc., etc. So we are here to help, together with Hailey and myself, to try to assist you if you think that this will be a good potential for your company in the future.
Thank you so much.
So thank you.
Thank you so much, Daisy. Really comprehensive and really helpful, building on Hailey's presentation in showing why Hong Kong could be such a great place for UK companies to be working, and really interesting to hear about the trade relationships with China, the low taxation system, and the strong investment climate. So thank you so much. Now the next part of the day's presentation, we're going to be moving on to companies who have a strong track record of working within Hong Kong, and are going to share some of their experiences and their top tips of working in Hong Kong. So I'd like to hand now over to James Dwyer, who's the Creative Director for Lumsden Design. Welcome, James.
Hi everyone, thank you Emily, and good morning. As we said, I'm James Dwyer, Creative Director at Lumsden. We're a small design company based in London, and we specialise in working on experiences for museums and cultural attractions and entertainment attractions around the world. Some of the projects we're known for is, for example, the retail at MoMA in New York, and also for their stores across Japan, where we developed the retail signature that reflects a visit, the experience of going to MoMA. We've also worked with Warner Brothers for over 11 years, developing all of the Harry Potter retail experiences and F&B experiences around the world, both in London and also Tokyo. Here's another image of one of the cafes there. And also closer to home, some of the retail for the National Gallery here in London. I think one of the most important things about what we do is about storytelling and connecting seamless experiences across cultural attractions and through the gallery spaces and into the commercial spaces as well. So some of our clients around the world that you'll know of, we're currently working with Netflix and other things, which is quite exciting for us. So, sorry, I skipped a slide there. I thought what I'd talk a little bit about today is our work with M+. And Hailey's already talked a little bit this morning about the West Kowloon development. So I thought I'd go through a little bit about our journey and the steps that we took to working in Hong Kong, which was actually our first project there. So just before I dive in, just to give you more detail on the M+ project, this was a Herzog and de Meuron designed brand new building to house the new Museum of Visual Culture on the West Kowloon waterfront, surrounded by a beautiful art park. It opened in 2019, I believe now, or just after the pandemic. And we were responsible for creating both the retail spaces at M+. And what was exciting about this project, as Hailey mentioned earlier, was the museum recognised that the local community is much more accustomed to spending time in shopping malls and commercial spaces within the city. So they wanted to use the commercial spaces within the M+ Museum almost like a front door to welcome that community and people who are less accustomed to spending time in arts venues and to sort of make them feel as welcome as possible, and to use the retail spaces to create dynamic experiences that welcomed workshops and demonstrations and pop-ups and collaborations, and very, very flexible spaces that would be creating an exciting experience for their visitors. So these are just some of the images on screen of the main flagship retail space that we developed there, that was centered around a series of different pavilions for different types of event and sort of retail experiences. And then also we developed a store on the lower level, just off the art park, adjacent to Mediatek and Coffee Bar, that was all about creating and making your own art and inspiring people to take the inspirations that they found in the gallery away with them into their everyday lives. So, as I said, I thought I'd talk a little bit about our M+ journey. And in terms of winning the project, this was a long project for us. I think we first heard about the M+ project on a trade mission that was probably with some of the team here today, over into Hong Kong and Macau, where on that mission we were introduced to about 3 or 4 different museums, and one of those was M+. So that's when it first appeared on our radar. And then finally, we were able to express interest in the project back in 2012. And this was followed by 3 years of complete silence, where we heard nothing more until suddenly we were invited to tender for the project. So we then went through a creative pitch, and obviously that led to fee proposals and then fairly lengthy negotiations. But when we finally won the project, it was super exciting for us because it was our first project in Asia at the time. So obviously for a small design company that presented lots of challenges, and we really had to understand how to navigate a new territory. And I will say we can't research the local market enough. If we were doing it again, we would have done far more research. It was quite a lengthy process for us in terms of setting up a company from scratch in Hong Kong. So it was really important to kind of understand the local customs, the local trading customs, which a lot of which took us by surprise. And it's really important to develop partners, your network and your support network. We had a lot of support from the team of Experience UK, Invest HK, and also the DBT to help us find our feet there. And one of the key introductions we had was to meet a company called Prime Asia. who helped with our accountancy and compliance. They helped to facilitate setting up our company in Hong Kong, and also provided critical insights into local regulations and how to navigate the kind of government requirements needed. And some of those key cultural differences included a lot more paperwork, physical paperwork, than what we're used to, documentation, a lot of independent sign-offs, both from accountants and lawyers in the UK, but also in Hong Kong, that we had to navigate at the time. And things may have changed now as well, so it's always important to research the current standards. Once our company was set up, it almost sat there and did very little. We didn't actually have any transactions going through it, although we had to pay about £1,500 a year to have it audited every year. So lots of things that you had to kind of understand along the way. And I think in terms of our experiences in delivering the project, I think, number one, patient pays off. This was a very lengthy process from initial meeting through to completion and delivery of the project. And as I said earlier, for our company, it's very important that we weave storytelling through every single experience that we do. So it's essential to really understand local culture for us, and I'd recommend the same for whatever you're doing in Hong Kong, to gain a deep understanding of local culture, whether that's through colleagues. That we were fortunate enough to have a Hong Kong colleague within our team at the time, which really helped us in understanding the design and the kind of things that people might engage with from an audience perspective. But also to gain local support, we actually partnered with an architectural firm on the ground nearby, so that we always had day-to-day boots on the ground kind of availability, which became invaluable because once we hit into the pandemic and the borders were closed, we were unable to travel. So our local firm were able to support us throughout the construction of the building and the delivery of the project, which was very fortunate. And I think the other thing to be aware of, especially in projects like this, where there's such big developments, we were very regularly presenting to very large board members, teams, trustees, which was also challenging in terms of understanding formalities around presenting to those sorts of groups, language barriers. We at times were presenting to over 24 people, all speaking different languages, so there were live translation setups happening. So just getting used to these different ways of working was really important. And then importantly...
2 minutes now, James.
Thank you, Emily. Importantly, getting paid was an interesting one for us. In the end, we were lucky enough to get paid into our UK bank account, which saved a lot of time and sort of concerns there. But we were paid in Hong Kong dollars, so obviously we had to work with foreign exchange brokers to convert that into sterling and so on. But all of this was, as I said, with the support of some of the teams on the call today, and I would like to thank them again for the process. So I guess in summary, I would say go for it. We had an amazing experience and we're doing it again. We learned a lot. I loved working in Hong Kong and with our local partners, and we're actually now actively looking to build on our portfolio now, with more work in Hong Kong and also mainland China. Looking to build our presence there. So hopefully this inspires you. We're now actually very excited to be working on a very large project just inside Shanghai. And again, Daisy and the team and some of the others there at DVT are currently helping us in expanding our presence further. So hopefully this encourages you all to go for it, whatever stage you're currently at. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, James. That was so inspiring. Always wonderful to see Lumsden's beautiful, beautiful work. And I'm not surprised you're wanted all over the world. And really great to hear how you how much you valued and how useful the support of the Department for Business and Trade and Experience UK was, and to hear the journey that you went on. I mean, we're running at Experience UK a number of trade missions this year into new markets, and I think it's really interesting and useful to hear about the timelines related to those in terms of winning contracts. But thank you so much. And I'd now like to introduce Anthony Rowe, who is Director of Squid Soup, who is going to share with us his experience of working in the Hong Kong market. Welcome, Anthony. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, there's always one. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to talk very quickly about our experience in Hong Kong, but obviously best to start with who we are. My name is Anthony Rowe. I'm the founder of Squid Soup, which is a group of artists, small group of artists, designers, technologists, and a production team based in Cheltenham in the west of the UK. There's currently 9 of us. We work all over the world creating immersive experiences. So these are art experiences. They're a different kind of immersive. They're not they're high tech, but not technology forward. So they're very easy to access, and they're open to a broad range of demographics. So they're not high art. They work at a range of levels. The work has been seen across the world, across 6 continents, by millions of people over the last 15 years or so. We work in a range of spaces, from galleries, live events, festivals, winter light trails, etc., and have shown in a range of places, from the Burning Man Festival, Sydney Opera House, Salisbury Cathedral, Alexandra Palace. Our first immersive light art experience project was a piece called Submergence, which was actually my PhD project about 15 years ago, which was inspired by those small LED cube projects, tiny little things that were around about 15 years ago with about 9 LEDs on them. And I kind of thought, well, that's a 3-dimensional screen. Imagine if it was huge and you could walk into it. So it developed from that into an art exhibition that was shown first in Oslo. We then looked at other uses for this idea of this potential to create virtual spaces but transported into the physical world. So it's kind of like the opposite to VR, where your head goes into a virtual space. This is bringing the virtual into the real. So it's a shared experience, which is really important. And so works well in public spaces. So we thought, well, let's do it outside. And so that developed into a project like this, which is at Canary Wharf, which has since been shown many times in winter light festivals across the globe. And then also we started thinking, well, we could do this as live performance. And so we worked with a guy called Fortet, who is a reasonably well-known DJ and musician who works in electronica. We started off fairly small. As he got more well-known, we went with him, and so we ended up playing to 10,000 people at Alexandra Palace in 2019 and again in 2023. But then we thought, well, let's combine it. Let's do live performance outdoors. And so we started looking for things to do there. And the first project we did that combines those two was actually the one in Hong Kong. So I'm just going to show a quick video now to give you an idea of what it is. And then I'll talk about our experiences in Hong Kong. Can we cue the video now, please? So this was this was at the West Kowloon Cultural Development Cultural District. So it sort of maps back to the project that we just heard about. So it was very near M+. It started off as a one-off event as part of a music festival where we'd be working with a contemporary dance company. And in the process of the 6 months, so this is a rapid project in comparison to the bookshop. In the 6 months from the initial contact to the actual event, the idea of the project moved fairly slowly to begin with, and then rapidly towards the end, from this single contemporary dance company to basically running the lighting for a stage for 3 nights. So we had 14 acts in the 3 nights, which we had to do live lighting pretty much on the fly. We arrived there 4 days before the first night, and in that time we had to put the whole project up and work out the content for those 3 nights. We got the project originally from a contact. We worked with an international consultant, a guy called Paul Clay, who knew some people out in Hong Kong, and this is how we got the introduction to the West Kowloon Cultural District. But honestly, it was very, very easy to work with them. It was not that different to working with a company here in the UK in a lot of ways. There were some differences. Obviously, there's the distance. A lot of our kit is made across the road in Shenzhen, which actually, when there was a problem with the kit, was very handy because we managed to get some cables sent from the factory in Shenzhen same day to the event. So that was a definite advantage. So although we had to travel quite a long way, actually the kit didn't have to travel very far, which was also very helpful from, I think, an ecological standpoint, because this is kit that we then would have shipped to the UK anyway, but we did a trip. We did this event in Hong Kong on the way to the UK. So the actual additional shipping was negligible. I suppose in terms of working with the West, with WKCD, it was initially there was a bit of trust because we went out and did a site visit. There was all we had was a letter of intent, and we didn't personally know these people, although the international consultant did. But as soon as we got there, it was very professional. They knew what they were doing. There's a fairly large trust structure, and if you saw in the video that's involved, one of the things is that the weather, this was in November, and there is a slight risk of typhoons, and so the amount of ballast that they wanted to put on for this truss was humongous, and so there's a lot of discussions about, because they wanted to over-engineer it, and everything has to go through the city, so the design phase and the authorization for the design took quite a long time.
That's
but
2
nevertheless,
minutes now.
Okay, I'm close to finish, so that's fine. So I mean, then there was also quite an interesting thing when we look at the design and the layout of the stage within the festival. They sort of designated a huge chunk for VIP access only, and so there was a lot of discussion about that. And eventually, we did have the VIP access, but it was a smaller area, and it was only on one night, and so on. But it was fine. I mean, the discussions were very easy. They were very professional. Everything was, a lot more efficient time-wise than we'd find in the UK. The trust went up. It was very professionally done. So yeah, we had a great time. Whilst we were out there, we also worked with Hailey, who spoke at the beginning of this thing, about other projects, and we met various people when we were out there in Macau, Shenzhen, and also in Hong Kong. So we had a great experience with some other projects in the pipelines, we hope, and we're looking forward to being back.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anthony. What again, a really creative and exciting project. And it's amazing to watch the video and then to hear about all of the practicalities of actually delivering such structures in potential typhoons. It's nice to be a consumer of experience design, and I know more challenging to be a producer of, so fantastic. Finally, I'd like to welcome Sam Bompas, co-founder of Bompas and Parr, and Natalie Wong from Bompas and Parr to talk us through their experiences of working in Hong Kong. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Should we introduce ourselves first?
Great. So yes, I'm Natalie Wong. I work for Bompas and Parr. I've been an account director now almost coming to 2.5 years. Previously, I was also based in Hong Kong, working with clients on also immersive design experiences as well.
Thanks, Natalie. Hey, Sam Bompas, and started Bompas and Parr, and also work as creative director here. We've been working in Hong Kong for the past decade, and in 2020 set up a business in Hong Kong as well. Although we're based in London, we operate globally. 80% of our work is international. And reflecting some of the other panelists as well, have just had the most tremendous help with that from DBT, from Invest HK, and from Experience UK. And they have the most unbelievable contact books. If you're planning on setting up there, you really must get in touch. And you know, they make dreams come true. And we'll tell you a little bit about what they've done, how they've helped us, and some of our work in Hong Kong. But as with some of the other panelists, I think it's worthwhile giving a bit of a rundown, a bit of context view about who we are. And so at Bompas and Parr, again, we're specializing in experience design and multi-sensory design and immersive experiences. But our route into that is really through maybe what's termed as the Aristotelian lower senses, the gut, taste, feasting, food. And what that actually means is doing things like creating restaurants. You have to squint, it's very tiny. Creating restaurants where in the top left corner of the screen, we melt down igneous extrusive rock and turn it into lava and then cook for you. It's creating bars in which we spatialize a gin and tonic to turn it into a mist. So if you're a meter away from someone, you can't see them because there's so much booze in the air and it intoxicates you through your very lungs and eyeballs. And then doing things spectacularly with shopping centres, so flooding the roof of Selfridges to make a boating lake and a float-up bar. And again, you know, really what we're doing with that is working with arts and cultural institutions, we're working with developers, we're working with retailers, we're working with brands, and then also attractions and operators, and then operating our own attractions ourselves. And I really see the exciting thing between drawing them all together. And I've been furiously taking notes on this call as well, which has been sparking a lot of future ideas. There's so many things I want to realize as a consequence of this, which perhaps draw them all together. And I sort of think of that as a form of creative and cultural arbitrage to make realities possible. And then in terms of the studio, we do a lot of future consultancy on the future of food and drink, and we're going to be giving away all our most recent findings on that now as well, so that's coming up. We develop a lot of F&B innovation, and yeah, in terms of what that means, I like the idea that Coca-Cola measures its success by the share of the world's stomach its products fill. Now, we're not only working with Coca-Cola, but the likes of Unilever, Pepsi, Diageo, Edrington, so many of the world's biggest food companies, and looking deep into their future at how they're going to. So it's quite a sizable amount of the world's stomach. And of course, within that, experience design really holds key in location-based experiences. And hopefully, if people come to London, if you're or you're in London, we'll be able to welcome you to our next experience soon, which is a museum of Shakespeare, where you can stand on an important piece of archaeology, the stage where Romeo and Juliet, Hailey first performed. We also help out by helping people connect all of those elements.
Great, thank you so much, Sam. So just to talk about Hong Kong, obviously, I was based in Hong Kong before coming back to the UK. And in terms of why I think Hong Kong is so valuable for experiences and for the creative industry in general, I think that's something that Anthony mentioned earlier. I think the proximity to tech. So obviously, experiences, they take on a range of formats ranging from analog to fully digital, and I think a substantial amount of experiences nowadays obviously require some form of tech hardware, and obviously that proximity to China and the factories on the mainland who produce the tech means it's super cost effective, as Anthony mentioned, from like a hardware production point of view to put something on. Beyond experiences and product design, I'm sure there are other members on the talk today who are also on sort of various creative services. For example, I have a contact that owns a company that develops accessories for Apple devices, and for example, Apple doesn't give a lot of lead time ahead of a product launch, and they don't release a lot of information. So companies like that, they rely on a network of data and information brokered through the factory relationships, and you can only have that when you're on the ground there. So you could jump in a car, hop on a high-speed train to China, you'll be in the factory where your product's being made, and that's really critical for your production time. It's critical for sampling and testing. And really, secondly, I think it's a really interesting moment for Hong Kong. It's opening up some really interesting opportunities. Obviously, experiences and creative service, they fall into cultural and leisure and tourism sectors. And I think over the last few years, Hong Kong has been through a tough time, but I think the city is in the process of finding its new identity and its position vis-a-vis the mainland and how to compete with cities like Singapore and Bangkok. So I think it's a really interesting opportunity for creative services to really explore and take up space within the city and find a new way of connecting with local audiences. But moving on from this, I thought it'd be nice to share one of our projects with one of our long-term clients, Edrington in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong, for this project, Hong Kong was one of the first Asian cities where Macallan was introduced over 40 years ago. And our client came to us to help them redefine the experiential retail, how to bring it to life, how to tell stories. So Macallan, they opened a 3-story, 6,000 square foot flagship boutique in central Hong Kong. And our team was tasked to create a methodology of brand storytelling, bringing Scotland to different parts of the world. So we created this wonderful sensory overlay within the space. We looked at each product and each release and brought them alive through this sensory experience. For example, scent installation, tastings, experiential serves at the bar, private dining concepts, food pairings, and much more. So anything that really wasn't the physical build. But we did design this amberometer, which you see here. So it allows people to find the natural color within whiskey. It's inspired by something called the sound meter. It's an instrument for measuring blueness in the sky. It was created by this Swiss physicist, Horace Benedictus in the 1760s. Random fact of the day. So we see HK was a huge opportunity for the brand, as a landmark building, and it was the brand's first standalone boutique that wasn't attached to anything else, like previously like an airport or hotel. So that was really big for them and our clients. And we also created a training program for the staff, and it's always super interesting for us, like learning from local markets. And so our international work with Macallan, in regions like Hong Kong and APAC, we also did work in Singapore as well, really informs our thinking as a studio and our approach. And then this nicely leads me on to the next part of the presentation.
2 minutes now.
Great. Strategy and insight, which I'll hand back over to Sam.
So working globally, one of the things we love to do is peer into the future and bring it into the present with food and drink. We do that. We've just launched our latest Future of Food and Drink report, where we're focusing on some of the things that we're most excited about that are going to shape the way that we eat and drink around the world. And as there's only 2 minutes, if you scan this, you'll get it all. It's got everything like savor mentality. So going beyond wellness, going beyond mindfulness, savoring is the new mindfulness. Start paying attention to what's on the end of your fork. Strange escaping at the quantum possibilities of your desserts as well.
Yeah, and finally, just to end on sort of, what is the future, a creative future for Hong Kong? I think, again, I'm sure everyone's aware there's been a number of designers in Hong Kong who have found huge commercial success. There's a huge goods economy. The market centers around products tied to the universe of like anime, comics, and games. If you haven't heard of this before, Labubu is a really big thing at the moment. It was designed by a Hong Kong artist, and in collaboration with the Chinese toy manufacturer, they made something like 870 US million in the first half of 2024. So there's like a really thriving economy there. And I think, ongoing investment into creative clusters within Hong Kong, like West Kowloon District, Sham Shui Po, really creating interesting opportunities for collaboration. And I think there'll be a renewed focus on local identity and heritage-shaped creative outputs, and obviously more cross-border collabs with mainland China partners and stakeholders. But we're very excited, and hopefully we'll be out in the region doing more projects. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sam and Natalie. I just can't wait to walk out of this office and into a mist of gin and tonic. It's very amazing and creative projects, and so much resonance with our other speakers in terms of both the value that you've received from the Department for Business and Trade, Invest Hong Kong and Experience UK, and the importance of building those local networks to make your businesses run really smoothly and effectively. So thank you for that. So we've come to the end of the webinar. I just want to see if there have been any questions. So somebody is saying the QR code is not working. So maybe we can supply that. We can supply that after the event. Thank you for that. And we'll be sharing the presentation slides. Yes, excuse me. We will. We're recording this today, so it will be made available to everybody who is on the call. And I'm just going to see if there are any other questions that have come up. Rosmin from the Department for Business and Trade has very kindly put her contact details in the chat. So if anybody out there listening would like to speak with Rosmin about the support that DBT from the UK's perspective can bring, she's there. Charles is thanking everybody for the insights that you're all bringing. So I think that kind of brings it to a close. What I would really like is if in maybe 20 seconds, each person could give us their one killer bit of advice for companies wanting to go into the Hong Kong market. What is the one single thing based on your experiences that you would advise? And maybe we'll start with James.
I'll repeat what I said earlier. It's partners and network, really, developing that and using that to your advantage. You never know what's around the corner, as I said about the pandemic. So, local support.
Thank you so much, James. Anthony?
Personal contacts, if you can get them, is always a good start. But just do it. It's the other piece of advice.
Lovely, thank you so much. And Sam and Natalie?
Yeah, so again, same with Anthony, I think your contacts and network super critical and very, very important.
Visit in person.
Fantastic. And Daisy?
Hi, I tried to unmute. Okay. I think, well, like everyone has mentioned this in the presentation also just now, is to do your research about the markets, because I always believe that different companies have different strategies, different potentials in the market. So always do your research and speak to all the supporting network here, like Hailey, myself, and the chambers in Hong Kong. They are all very, very supportive. And Hong Kong has a very, very entrepreneurial spirit. Like the community is very close-knit and everyone is willing to help everyone. So please do talk to the relevant, all the contacts that you might have, and reach out to people like myself and Hailey and everyone. And also Experience UK, you have a great network in Hong Kong too.
Thank you so much, Daisy. And finally, we'll go to Hailey, and who makes dreams come true. A quote from Sam.
That's being too kind, but I would just ride on Daisy's point. Just connect with us, let us know how we can help. I also want to flag that while myself work with a lot of cultural institutions in Hong Kong, I also have my team also have a member covering the consumer sectors. The DBT Hong Kong has other sector team covering fintech, education, all the sectors that you can think of. And we would really love to see more cross-disciplinary collaboration like what the Bompas and Parr is doing in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hailey. Amazing. Well, I would like now to thank all of our fantastic speakers today. So Hailey Chan, Head of the Experience UK at the Department for Business and Trade, Daisy Ip, Head for Investment Promotion at Invest UK, James Dwyer, Creative Director from Lumsden Design, Sam Bompas, Co-founder of Bompas and Parr, Natalie Wong, Account Director from Bompas and Parr, Anthony Rowe, Artist and Founder at Squid, and in the background, my colleague Kieran and Ian keeping us all going. So thank you everybody in the online audience out there for joining us this morning, and see you all soon on the next one. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.